At the crack of dawn, we're cooking it, brewing it, grilling it, flipping it. McDonald's fires up the griddle every morning so you can start digging in and enjoying it. And now you can get your morning rolling with a hot and savory sausage McMuffin for just $1. Then add any size hot McCafe drip coffee for just $1 more. 2 tasty ways to make your morning routine a little better. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Blog Talk Radio.
What's up, college football fans, and welcome to another edition of Quick Slants, brought to you by War Room Sports on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dev McMillan, but I'm here with the star of the show. We got Fred Perdue in the building after a great week of college football. Fred, what's going on, man?
Man, I don't know about a great week. Cannot play with him. Cannot coach with him. Can't do it. What's going on?
Do it?
What's going on, Coach Mark Rick? Hashtag fire Mark Rick. Just saying.
Oh, I hear you. Well, let me correct myself. Great week, as in it was exciting for the fans to watch. It was a lot of anticipation leading up to that week. Let me say that instead of saying great week.
Yeah,
because,
definitely.
You know,
yeah, if we take
nothing,
that. Yeah, we can go that far. Yeah.
You know, it probably would have been great if, you know, the number 4 team in the land could have put up any kind of fight. I was about to say a better fight, but if they would have put up any kind of fight, that would have been, you know, pretty good in itself. All right, well, let's get right into it then, because we're going to move on to the next week and hope that it can be great, really be great. First thing I want you to talk about, Fred, is FSU coach Taggart. He's given the play calling duties to the coordinators. I mean, is he throwing in the towel, or is this a last-ditch effort to save himself? Like, what's going on here? Oh, my bad. You're back.
The powers that be will not silence me, no matter how bad things went over the weekend.
No doubt. FSU's Taggart is giving the play calling duties to the coordinators. What's this about?
Man, the offense hasn't looked great. I mean, he's had one of the top offenses from his time at USF with the Bulls, top 10 offense, as well as a top 20 offense when he was with the Oregon Ducks. And well, this team is just they're not really living up to the expectations that we thought were going to happen with a banged-up offensive line, a quarterback who's really skittish. I had high hopes for DeAndre Francois in this offense, but the play calling has been very, very suspect. Running game has been non-existent, and quite honestly, this team is in shambles. I thought they could possibly lean on their defense, but now I don't know. It's not looking good, but he's handed over his play calling duties to his offensive coordinator, and that's going to be one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing. Maybe in seeing what happened in their last game against NC State. I said they were able to put up some points, but I always say play calling is an art form, and you have to be able to know how to not only think ahead 4 or 5, 6 plays, maybe 2 or 3 series ahead, but you have to understand down and distance, and you have to understand what your quarterback's seeing, what your offense is feeling. You have to be able to do all of that. Walt Bell seemed like he could do that. The moment wasn't too big for him, but time will only tell. DeAndre Francois has been out with injuries. So you looked at James Blackman, who last time we saw him, he was 169 pounds, as we remember. That's just an odd number to be at, but we couldn't just give him an extra pound and, you know, make him seem whatever. But he has a pretty big arm, and he's the future anyway. So get a chance to see what he's all about going into the end of the season and into next year. He completed 19 of 24 passes, which was pretty good in the first 3 quarters. But FSU just wasn't able to rally to finish. we'll see how this team goes, and maybe, just maybe, this team can kind of rally and find a way into a bowl game. Because right now, the Noles 4-5, gotta get to that 6-6 mark, and you still may not get in.
Wow. All right. Well, moving on to Oklahoma State, man. That grown man we all know is Mike Gundy. He's a little frustrated again, but this time he's a little frustrated about bad penalties. So he's thinking about benching some players for some bad penalties. Come after me! Because he's a man. So what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, man, this team really underachieved. I thought they would have one of the better offenses. And they started out pretty good, but things have kind of went sideways. 5-4 on the season, 2-4 in Big 12 play, and then losing a heartbreaker to Baylor on this past Saturday. Man, it was really, really bad. Seeing what this team has come to, but this is what this team usually does. Every few years, they have a really good quarterback, wide receiver tandem who just kill the Big 12, and then when they move on, they struggle a little bit. So, but this is something you can control. Typically, you can't control quarterback. You can't control quarterback and receivers and recruiting. You can't really control that. That's one of those things, and also player development. You can somewhat control it, but penalties is something you can control because you're the one causing them. Oklahoma State has been one of the worst in the country. They had a season-high 12 penalties for 133 yards over the weekend against the Baylor Bears, and that includes 3 defensive flags in the fourth quarter that allowed Baylor to erase a 31-21 deficit. So when you have big-time numbers like that, it's not something that you want to see. And they've been preaching over and over, according to Mike Gundy, that penalties are something you cannot do. You're not good enough where you can overcome penalties. This team is one of the most penalized teams in the league, 68 penalties for 699 yards. That's the ninth most in the country out of 130 teams. That's really, really bad. It's just something you just can't do. And this team, they're going up against an Oklahoma team next week or this Saturday, who's 8-1, who takes advantage of lots of bad penalties. This offense is one of the best in the country, and guess what? If you get down too early with those guys, it's going to be a very, very bad blowout. Get it together, coach. Yeah. Go bench some players.
I mean, you can always understand why, a coach would be that frustrated over penalties because the general public, pundits, analysts of the game, we generally like to blame an over penalized team on the coach, and the discipline and the preparation and things like that. So, I really could see a coach like blowing his gasket over something like that because he doesn't want your mistakes to keep reflecting on him. All right. So there's been, 2 that the general public will know, 2 players being inducted in this year's class for the Black College Football Hall of Fame. Those 2 players are John Taylor, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, and Hugh Douglas, formerly of my Philadelphia Eagles. John Taylor, he scored 42 touchdowns for Delaware State from 1983 to 1985, and of course we know he went on to win 3 Super Bowls with the 49ers. Douglas had 42 sacks in only 32 games playing in the NAIA before being drafted by the New York Jets, and like I said, going on to play with the Eagles and people like that. Hugh Douglas played for what school did he go to? He went to Central State. Yeah, I think he played for Central State.
Yeah, Central State. Yeah.
Yeah. So the induction ceremony is going to be February 16th at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, Georgia. What are your thoughts on Hugh and John Taylor? I'm like with John Taylor, it took long enough.
Exactly.
What's the induction process here? What's going on?
For me, when I look at this, and I've had more experience with these two at the biggest stage in the NFL. John Taylor, a little bit before my time, but really being able to see him through the eyes of those old tapes you watch as a kid, just seeing how good he was when he was on a stacked team with a stack where he had one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, and he was on one of the most innovative teams we've ever seen. And Hugh Douglas, he was also one of the best when it comes to getting after quarterbacks. So for me, when I look at this, all of their accomplishments have now been culminated. I mean, you're not going to see them in an NFL Hall of Fame anytime soon, but they are celebrated by not only their schools, but also in college football history. And that's one of the things that I've always really liked about the college game. It takes forever, but when they do get in, they are celebrated forever. The NFL doesn't. The NFL, unless you're a huge, big-name quarterback or something like that, you don't necessarily get the remembrance, especially if you're not a huge, big name like a Randy Moss or Ray Lewis or a Peyton Manning who will be in at some point. But in the college football game, because it's such a regional sport, despite being one of the biggest, probably the biggest sport in the country. It's so regionally based, and then when you see how these fan bases just rally behind their guy. When that happens, it's one of the best things you've ever seen.
Right. And John Taylor, like most of his fame comes from being the guy on the other side of Jerry Rice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which, that's truthfully what he was. And for a few years, he was the guy on the other side of Terrell Owens, but at the same time, John Taylor, he held his own. Like there was a few seasons, he had 95 receptions, 97 receptions. So, shout out to him because he was a great receiver in his own right. In his own right, I said Rice. That's no pun intended. But it's hard to live up to what you're across from when you're dealing with a Jerry Rice. But yeah. Congratulations to those guys. Shout out to those guys for their Hall of Fame bid. Let's move on to the next topic. I want to ask you about the hot seats because I think some seats are heating up in these Power 5 conferences. Who are some of the people who are on those hot seats?
And after looking at what happened with a certain Louisville head coach and Bobby Petrino, 77 points dropped on your head at any point in the season. I don't care if you have a $14 million buyout or not. You deserved all of the scrutiny, all of the hatred of college football. It's all coming down on you because you literally had – do you understand that 77 points, that means they're scoring pretty much every possession. That's really, really bad. Really, really bad. And I knew that this would be a down year, but being 2-7, and then you were blown out not only this week, but then you were blown out last week. It's not a good thing right now. Like I said, $14 million buyout is a lot of money. But sometimes, and granted, this may not be the best move for them because of the fact that who are you going to go get? Because before you do this, Louisville, you have to understand who are you going after. But for me, when I look at how this is going to play out, what I see is Bobby Petrino is one of the best offensive minds in the game. And unfortunately for him, he's kind of been put into a box of he's always been a bit of a troubled coach. So all of these things come with it. So now that he's having a 2-7 season, things aren't looking all that great. So I want to see him I want to see better for him, but at the same time, I'm not too confident he's going to last too much longer. And on the other coast, you have Clay Helton at USC, who USC's been down as well. And we knew they had a freshman quarterback in JT Daniels. You had to replace a lot. But this USC program has just not come back like we thought they would under him, especially after letting go Ed Orgeron, who has kind of, I won't say he's taken this LSU team to a better place, because they're just back to where they used to be. I mean, they're not a national title perennial power. They're not Alabama or anything, but they're pretty good. But this could be USC right now. He was a player's coach, and the players loved him. He was a really good recruiter, and that's what LSU's getting, really good recruits. But USC has just not – they're just an average team. If you expect the days of Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart to happen, you're sadly mistaken. That won't happen again. It just won't happen again.
Not anytime soon, I'll tell you that. All right, so the big game that we did allude to in our open, the Bama-LSU game, I don't want to say it didn't live up to the hype, because there really wasn't much hype. You know, most people thought that Bama was going to go out there and do what they do, but to get totally shut out in the game, like, I don't know if that was the expectation of a lot of people, but what are some of your thoughts on the game? Let's talk about the aftermath of this game real quick.
First thing, get to a Heisman Trophy now, please. Let's stop with the formalities. Give him a Heisman Trophy.
The man threw his first interception of the season, and that was basically because it was just a throw up. It was a punt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he took off for a 44-yard touchdown on a gimpy knee. I mean, the guy is pinpoint with his throws. And the one thing I say about LSU is, like I said when we previewed this game, I said LSU is going to have to make this game an ugly game. They're going to have to play it close to the vest. And on defense, you're going to see a lot of press man. You're going to see a lot of just one-on-one. And Alabama just straight up beat the one-on-one. Their man was better than LSU's man. Their best is better than your best. And, yeah, LSU, with Dave Aranda making almost, close to $10 million as a defensive coordinator, he's well worth the pay. I would love to have him maybe at a certain place in Coral Gables. I mean, Manny Diaz is okay, but whatever. You know, to be the highest paid defensive coordinator is great, but very much like that same Manny Diaz in Coral Gables. I know him and his defenses are so frustrated with the fact that this offense does not move the ball at a high rate. Yeah, they're moving. They can move it on bad teams. You can move it on Florida. You can move it on Georgia. But you're not moving it on this Alabama team. You don't run the ball on an Alabama team where their front seven is one of the best in the country. You have to attack them on the back end, and even their back end, they didn't give up much. They didn't give up much. This LSU team is getting better and better, but they're not ready. They're like a lot of teams. And quite honestly, Alabama is just on another planet this year. That's just what I've come to. I've already knew that, but I really, really saw it because this was the first real test that Alabama was going to have to face in a tough environment and with a really good defense. Tua and company just sliced and diced. Jerry Jeudy is a really, really good receiver. And by the way, Tua took one to the heartland, if you know what I mean, and took it like a champ, you know, and came back and was even better. He lasted until the fourth quarter, believe it or not. So that's the only thing that kind of went a little bit sideways, but still a shutout nonetheless.
All right, so that was it definitely was a letdown of a contest. I don't think, like you said, nobody really expected them to beat Alabama or anything like that, but put up a damn fight. All right, so because of that shakeup up in the top four, what are your predictions for the playoff rankings that are soon to be made public?
Well, for me, when Alabama sits at the top, they're the unquestioned number one. It's not even close. If you think differently, I'd love to hear your argument because I don't see it. I don't see where you're going to get another team that's top to bottom such a balanced team, such a really well-coached team, where are you going to find that team? Because if you got one, I need to know. At number two, I still have the Clemson Tigers. Offensively, they're a juggernaut. Defensive line, probably one of the best in the country, maybe right behind Alabama. I've been touting this defensive line all year. 4 first-round picks. Easy enough. This at number 3, and this may surprise you, but this Michigan team is just really, really good. Shea Patterson has gotten better and better. And, yeah, they lost to Notre Dame early in the season. But the difference between the AP Top 25 rankings and the playoff rankings is the playoff rankings go, who's the best team out of the best 4 teams, and how do we rank them, not who's beating who on any given time and all of these crazy scenarios. Who's going to put the best 2 matchups that will produce a good national championship? And quite honestly, at number 3, that would put Alabama, Michigan. As good as this Michigan defense is with Sean Gary and company, I can't go against it. And this Michigan team has gotten better every week this year. At number 4, Notre Dame just slightly. And this could change again. I mean, Alabama and Georgia still have to play in an SEC title game, and Alabama has to play a Mississippi State team and a Auburn team who still could ruin some things. But Georgia is kind of on the outside looking in until otherwise, unless Notre Dame loses or Georgia somehow wins the SEC title. But Notre Dame has just been very balanced, and they found ways to win tough games, close games. They've blown teams out. They have a pretty impressive resume so far, knocking off a Northwestern team that has been pesky all year long. You have wins against Michigan. You have wins against Stanford, Virginia Tech. You've also beaten a Pitt team that was pretty good this year. This team, and still you have Florida State left, a ranked Syracuse team left, and yeah, they're just a name, but USC on the road is never an easy one because it is a rivalry game. So if Notre Dame goes undefeated the rest of in these next 3 games, yeah, they don't play in a conference championship game, despite having they're like halfway in the ACC. As far as football is concerned, expect that team to have a really, really strong case for a national championship, a playoff bid.
All right. Well, let's do some pick'em here for you players in the War Room Sports College Football Pick'em League. Let's check the standings real quick. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see. Man, the 2-time winner, that boy Miz, he's leading again, man. He's running away with it on the spread, so he's going to have ultimate bragging rights if we don't get our things together.
Yeah, I got to get my stuff together, man. It's been really tough because I keep the games that I'm losing are these like that Texas West Virginia game where it's a game where it comes down to just the last play. Like it's not blowout losses. I'm like, oh, I just missed that one. No, it's right. Texas. It's Will Greer getting an incompletion and game over on a 2-point conversion, and yet there was a timeout called, and now he gets another shot at it. Those are the heartbreakers. So, and I lose multiple of those, so really it hurts. So I'm praying to the college football gods. I need a little bit of help. I need another upset Saturday, and I need to get these right.
All right, well, let's start off with the number 8 the number 8 Ohio State Buckeyes at 8-1, playing their conference rival, the Michigan State Spartans. They're number 24 at 6-3. What are your thoughts on this one?
Dwayne Haskins, really good quarterback. Big guy. He's a big guy. One of the better passers in the country. I don't want him to go to the NFL yet. He needs to come back at least for one more year. But 32 touchdowns to only 6 picks. Very good running game with J.K. Dobbins. I want to see more every time I see him. I want to see more. K.J. Hill at the receiver spot, explosive. This defense just doesn't seem the same without Nick Bosa, and for a good reason. I mean, he's potentially the number one overall pick, and that's on a good year, a bad year, or any year. He could be that. They've had to do a little bit of a pass rush by committee, but it seems like this Ohio State team has been in a lot of close games lately. At some point, it's going to come back to bite them. Just probably not this week. Michigan State has been a bit up and down. Lewerke's been pretty good, but he's only got 6 touchdowns this season. I'm sorry, 8 touchdowns this season to 6 interceptions. I mean, that's just never good, especially for a team that likes to run the football. Their leading rusher has 358 yards. They're not really a high production team. They're still playing old school college football where it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Trying to upgrade a little bit. Michigan State giving up every 325 yards a game. Ohio State's average almost double that. So that's never a good thing either. Ohio State right now is on a 4-game win streak. So want to see some things happen. Want to see some that old Ohio State I saw early in the season before teams started catching up. Michigan State needs to make this game ugly if they want to have a chance.
All right, so let's go to the Wisconsin Badgers at 6-3 versus the number 21 Penn State Nittany Lions, who are also sitting at 6-3.
Penn State just the days of really, really good football are over with. Quite honestly, Trace McSorley he was benched at the end of the game last week. You can really, really tell how much Saquon Barkley meant to that team. They've lost 2-3 of their last 5 with blowout losses to Michigan, also losses to Ohio State by a point, and Michigan State by 4 points. The only wins right now are Iowa by a touchdown and Indiana by a touchdown. So what I want to see, can this team get back to running the football, and can they get back to not having to completely rely on Trace McSorley? On the other side of things, looking at Alex Hornibrook has been out. He's out still with the injury, so Alex Crane is going to have to come in and make some plays. Jonathan Taylor's kind of fallen out of this whole Heisman race, so he has 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns, but it just doesn't seem like he's really a big piece of this team right now. I'm gonna because of the quarterback situation at Wisconsin, I'm leaning Penn State, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just hand it off to Jonathan Taylor 35 times and just say, look, we need a win, make it ugly. We can play old school, hit them in the mouth, smash mouth football, and we're going to keep the score low, rely on our defense, rely on our special teams, and keep that Penn State offense off the field.
All right, let's go. Troy at 7-2 versus Georgia Southern, also at 7-2.
These teams, Georgia Southern is one of those old school triple option run teams. They give teams fits. This is basically watching Georgia. This is like watching Georgia Tech light. You're not going to see a lot of passing from this team. Quarterback Shai Wertz, 5'11", 200 pounds. He's not a big guy, but he has a lot of production. He has 6 touchdowns to no interceptions, which is one of the key things you need when you're playing in one of these type of offenses. It's a ball control offense. Only losses that this team has is to UL Monroe and Clemson. Not too bad of an outing. Want to see him, if they can control the ball. I can see Georgia Southern winning this one. Troy has a very explosive offense, one of the best in the country. They can score on anybody at any time. Want to see what I want to see from this offense is, can Caleb Barker, their junior quarterback, can he push the ball down the field? This team isn't one of those deep explosive teams, but you're going to have to score touchdowns in bunches because you're not going to get a lot of possessions. So you're going to have to literally score every single time you go down the field. If they can do that, and their defense can keep Georgia Southern off the field, you may see a bit of a different outcome. But this is one of those classic explosive offense plays a ball control team, and how many out possessions can you get?
All right, let's go to Northwestern. Going to visit number 16, Iowa.
Pesky Northwestern. This team hangs around in every game. For me, when I look at this team, they're not great on any different facet of the ball, but they just hang around and hang around and hang around. And that's why you have, even though they are 5-4, they're in every ball game. Iowa's one of those ball control teams where they can run the football. They're going to play defense, solid defense, very solid defense. Nate Stanley, 17 touchdowns to 8 picks. He's going to be in control of this one. Don't expect a ton of scoring in this one, but Iowa may just have a bit better of an athlete than Northwestern has, and that may be what takes it over the top. Both head coaches, Pat Fitzgerald as well as Kirk Ferentz, both very, very clever play callers on both sides of the ball. They have their fingerprints on every bit of this team, be it their respective teams. You're going to see a disciplined football team on both sides. But Iowa, again, may just have a little bit better of an athlete than Northwestern does.
All right, let's go number 10, Washington State versus Colorado. Hey, you remember them days back in the day when Colorado was a relevant program?
Yeah, I do. The fifth down play, that Cordell Stewart just making plays. For me, when I look at this team, Steve Montez is really, really good. 6'5", 235 pounds, 2,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. This offense is going to be moving, but the one thing you have to worry about is when you play a Mike Leach team, he's quirky. Mike Leach is the quirky guy. But his offenses can move up and down the field on you in a hurry. Gardner Minshew is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. 3,500 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. They're going to be running a ton of that. That air raid system is just one of those systems where they can dink and dunk their way down the field, and fans will get a chance to kind of correlate this because a lot of the same concepts that Mike Leach has been using forever is what now is in the NFL. The option routes and little receivers just finding their way to the football. It's going to be pass, and even more pass. And when you think there's going to be a run, it's still pass. So what I expect is a lot of fireworks in this game from both sides.
All right, let's go with Oklahoma State versus number 6, Oklahoma. We already talked a little bit about Mike Gundy and what he might do earlier in the show. But what do you think about this matchup?
Well, we have a matchup of very good offensive minds. Mike Gundy, he's a man. He's 40+. He might be pushing 50 at this point. But nonetheless, he is a man, and he's asking Lincoln Riley, who's one of the younger offensive minds, to come after him because he's a man. Well, the thing about being a man is you have to take responsibility for the things that are going around in your program. So I need you to take responsibility for that, Coach Gundy, and you're going to take responsibility for this L you're about to be handed. Enjoy.
But he's a man. He's 50.
Yeah.
Not 40. He's 50. All right, let's go.
Kyler Murray might get a chance to stay in this Heisman. He might make it a little interesting with this one, too.
Yeah. All right, well, we got 2 unranked teams, the Virginia Tech Hokies versus the Pitt Panthers.
Virginia Tech, at the beginning of the year, about a quarter of the way through the year, they lost to Old Dominion, and they lost their quarterback, Josh Jackson.
Yeah.
And I said at that point, season over, done deal. This team has fought their way through. This team's 4-4, very respectable, especially under the conditions that they've been put. But they're going up against a Pitt team that's very sound but very average when it comes to the caliber of athlete they have. The Virginia Tech defense should be able to handle this game. I expect very little from the offense, but I expect a ton from this defense to be able to stop the run game. Pickett at quarterback is one of the better distributors of the football. He doesn't have a big arm, but he's just one of those guys that knows where to put the ball where it needs to be. This is a typical ACC Coastal matchup. This game doesn't really determine much because now, with despite beating Virginia, that is Pitt beating Virginia, those Miami Hurricanes that I love so much did not take advantage, and now they're kind of out of it. So Pitt, despite winning, doesn't really hold their own destiny either. They've lost a lot. So right now, Virginia holds their own destiny. This game is their hope. If I'm Virginia, I'm hoping these teams beat each other up a lot.
All right. And then we got the Oregon Ducks sitting at 6-3, going to visit the number 15 Utah Utes, also at 6-3.
The Oregon Ducks, they dropped some heat on Saturday with the Jordan uniforms, the all black with the green. Saw a lot of recruits saying that they were willing to possibly drop their recruitment, even one specific one that may be going to Florida State, not naming any names, don't want to get into that, but it was all fun. But those Jordan uniforms were great. Oregon, University of Oregon, I almost called them Nike University.
Nike
they found ways to, yeah, exactly. This team knows how to advertise themselves, but they do it on the field and they do it off the field. Justin Herbert still doing a masterful job at the quarterback position. 22 touchdowns, only 6 picks. I hope he comes back. I really hope he doesn't take his talent to the NFL. He's not ready, but you can see the talent. He's a big body guy. He's a pretty good accurate thrower. He just needs a little bit more refining. So please come on back. Run this Oregon offense one more time. On the other side, Utah has really been running through the Pac-12. Zach Moss making big play. He is a big play running back. Over 800 yards, over 1,000 yards, on the ground. 11 touchdowns, only 179 carries. Very explosive. Huntley at quarterback is one of those typical dual threat quarterbacks. Not a big guy, but he's as much a part of the run game as any quarterback nowadays with the read options and the RPOs and things like that. He's such a weapon. And quite honestly, he's going to be able to, if he can use his arm as much as his legs this week and not have to worry about Oregon just gouging them at the offensive line, because that's where this game is going to be won, is in the trenches, because Utah is still not a big-time Pac-12 power. They're still not getting the same guys that a USC or a UCLA or whoever gets. They have to coach their guys up and develop them. So if this team can just win at the line of scrimmage and put some points up early, Oregon might find themselves in a bit of a dogfight.
All right. Let's go with the South Florida Bulls at 7-2, visiting number 25 Cincinnati Bearcats at 8-1.
Well, I've actually had a chance to see these South Florida Bulls, and their offense looks like Miami's offense, just very uncreative, bad play calling, and just a host of bad athletes that are just not good enough. I mean, I rarely say that about a team, but the guys that they're getting are just not good enough to play at this level. Blake Barnett is a very below average quarterback, and despite the numbers, when you watch him play, he looks timid. He's not making his read. They put him on the goal line. They tend to run read options with him every single time on the goal line, and despite being a very slow quarterback, you just don't even respect the quarterback keeper there. He scored on a couple of those. Cincinnati is a very explosive offense. They're going to be able to move the ball. But USF, the one thing I want to see going forward, and it might not happen until the postseason, both coordinators just have to go for the Bulls if you expect to win games.
All right, and last but not least, we got a top 25 alert. One of the teams in the playoff rankings right now at the number 2 Clemson Tigers, of course, undefeated at 9-0, taking on the number 17 Boston College Eagles at 7-2. I predict a 7-3 in their future, but hey, that's just me.
Stranger things have happened in this one, but yeah, I think so too. A.J. Dillon's a really good running back for the Eagles, but you can be physical with a team like Miami. You can be physical with a team like NC State, maybe North Carolina, or even the likes of Syracuse, Pitt, or Virginia. But you can't do that against the Clemson Tigers, where you have they're just really, really good on both fronts. And Clemson just has found their running game. Travis Etienne and company have really just found their way. And I can see things getting really, really bad, really, really early, especially if those guys don't want to tackle anymore.
All right, so there you have it. Those are the games of the week. Like I said, Fred and I are both trailing in the standings to the 2-time winner of this contest. But we're coming for you, Miz, so you better keep making the right picks. You better keep winning those games. So, look, we're looking for – I don't think the matchups scream, excitement as much as last week's did, but like Fred said at the open, the week was kind of a letdown in comparison to what we thought we might get last week. So hopefully this week is a little bit better. We're looking forward to it. But Fred, where are you going to be on Saturday when all the people are trying to get at you and these games are in mid-motion?
You can catch me watching a ton of SEC football this week. Alabama goes on to face the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and of course, I gotta watch. Even though they're my team, and quite honestly, I've kind of been sulking this week about those Hurricanes. I'm still gonna watch first game all season being an underdog. Yeah, exactly. Their first time this week being an underdog. I'm still gonna watch. I don't care. I'm still gonna say fire Mark Richt even if they win. I'm disgusted with the play calling and things like that. But I'll be around. You can check me out on Twitter, Fred Purdue CFB. I'm gonna be talking a lot of. We're really gonna start getting into different players, focusing on different players as we go. Start transitioning from the college season to NFL draft time. We're coming on the back end of this college football season. Quite honestly, where did the time go? It just seems like just yesterday we were talking about preseason rankings and teams that should be in the top 5 going into the season, and we're already almost done with it.
All right. Well, as usual, this has been another episode of Quick Slants. For my partner, Fred Purdue, I'm Devin McMillan. We're going to talk to you guys next week, so don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance. And we'll see you chumps on top. Peace.
At the crack of dawn, we're cooking it, brewing it, grilling it, flipping it. McDonald's fires up the griddle every morning so you can start digging in and enjoying it. And now you can get your morning rolling with a hot and savory sausage McMuffin for just $1. Then add any size hot McCafe drip coffee for just $1 more. 2 tasty ways to make your morning routine a little better. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. At the crack of dawn, we're cooking it, brewing it, grilling it, flipping it. McDonald's fires up the griddle every morning so you can start digging in and enjoying it. And now you can get your morning rolling with a hot and savory sausage McMuffin for just $1. Then add any size hot McCafe drip coffee for just $1 more. 2 tasty ways to make your morning routine a little better. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.